By the way, if you find that you watch my content regularly, could you maybe subscribe? And if this is the first video, then please watch my video first, and maybe I can earn you a sub. Alright, first off I want to thank all my space buddies for the support on my YouTube with comments and likes that you do so great. You are all just amazing. We have passed 500 subs, and we are on our way to 1000. We're gonna do this easy. As always, if you like my content, then show that by liking this video, of course. It takes a second to do it, and it shows me exactly what I need to focus on. This podcast will, of course, be about Eve Echoes, fleet fights, as well as fleet commanding, together with a hugely important person. This person has not been easy to get a hand of, so buckle up and enjoy. Hello and welcome, Stoney, or should I call you Stoney Slutz?
Stoney works. Better for the YouTubes.
Yeah, thank you for joining, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
You are the FC in Pantheon.
Yes, I am a head FC of Pantheon, and I am the alliance executor for the Space Cows, who is a lovely alliance within the Pantheon family.
You have your fingers in every pies, it feels like.
Yes, I keep myself very, very busy. There's not much I don't have my nose in.
Is that how you wanna play this game, or is that how you are as a person?
I think it's it's a combination of both. It's definitely how I am as a person. But I was a long time EVE Online player. Okay, well, I guess not that long in the age of the game, but I played EVE for about 4 years, and never really did anything. As in, like, I FC'd some stuff, and I've flown with a lot of people, and I've experienced a lot of aspects of the game, but never really took any leadership positions or anything else like that. So Echoes was really a place that I could do that, and it just made sense that me being me, started poking around everywhere that I could.
I think you're doing a great job. I see you everywhere, and I have so much stuff for myself, so I only kind of read what basically you say or a few others. I don't have time to look at any other stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm happy we finally made this work, that you can that you could come to my podcast here.
It's really exciting. Yeah. I've been surprised, not really surprised, but it's been really nice to see how many of your videos have started flowing in from like the beginning of when you started until now. And I just finished watching the ugliest ship video, and I got a really good laugh out of
that. Don't take my videos too seriously. It's made for fun. I was actually looking at analytics, and I do that all the time. So my channel is pretty crazy. Yeah, like today, if this keeps up, I will hit 1,000 subs in a month. And I mean, it took me 4 months to get 500, and to get 1,000 in 1 more month, that would be crazy. But like, I'm pretty good at evaluating analytics, because that's kind of what I do, like with marketing and stuff. And it's like, unless it normalizes itself, it probably will be before 2 months or something. I mean, that is crazy quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game has seen a lot of people come back. I mean, I've just been noticing, even within our own alliance, since you're a fellow Space Cow, our in-game numbers have been really skyrocketing since the last update. And so I think that that's maybe a big contributor to it. And as well as, a couple of the original content creators who were kind of here at the beginning of Echoes have kind of phased off. We still have a few really good ones, but I think there's a lot of room right now for people to come and start creating more and more content. So I really hope that helps.
That sounds very good for me. So, all right, you didn't start as a fleet commander in EVE Echoes either, right? You started as a CEO.
No, actually, I did not. So the story of how I got myself into this is, so my CEO actually of Daft Drifters here in TSC, he recruited me. Funny enough, he was actually my EVE Online recruiter. He brought me into my first pretty hardcore EVE Online corp. And so we've been, really good buds since then. I've been a part of the same kind of gaming community. And when Echo started, he invited me to come play with him. I was really stubborn to do it at first. I was like, yeah, I'll join. I was doing nothing but running high sec encounters and stuff like that for probably the first month because I am and still was an active EVE Online player. So I was just kind of, enjoying the relaxing nature at the time that Echoes was, just kind of doing some more casual farming and stuff like that, because with Eve, you really got to kind of sit down and stare at your screen and do a lot of paying attention. And in the early days of Echoes, it was a very AFKable game, or for people that know, you don't need to give all of your focus to the game, or you didn't need to. There's a lot of features in place that just kind of made running certain missions and encounters, very easy. You didn't have to pay too much attention. And so finally, he dragged me out into nullsec again, and I kind of just got thrown into FCing. We were actually, so Original Alliance, TC, the collective, we lost the first POS, if not, it was the second POS that was actually fought over. And in that battle, the head FC of the Alliance at the time bailed on us that morning. He just didn't show up. And they needed someone to kind of step in and take control. And I was like, well, I know Eve well enough that I can probably do this, and so I stepped in. We weren't able to defend it. There was a lot of really interesting mechanics at the time of the game, and pretty much after that first fight, I was like, all right, well, I want to be in leadership. I want to be the head FC because we don't have a head FC now, and yeah, we kind of ended up here. We joined the Pantheon family eventually, and it was just natural that I made my way onto that FC team, and yeah, now I'm here. And somehow now I run an alliance too at the same time.
Yes, you do. That is amazing. So this citadel or this outpost you were talking about, was that the one where we tried to fill the system with pilots to reach the cap? Was that the one?
Maybe. So it was up in Outer Ring in the Battle of Five Way. It's actually funny. It's a lot of the good fun. I don't want to call them enemies. Reds, right? A lot of the fun Reds that we actually have a good time fighting now were actually there in that first fight. And if I can recall, we had flown Caracals with afterburners, which was a fiasco. The head FC at the time, that was like his doctrine that he had created. And so the week prior, everyone had spent time building hundreds of Caracals. We had all of these modules and everything. And we ended up fighting stabbers and SFIs with micro warp drives, and so they kind of just danced around the field, and I kind of just had to sit there with what I had. So yeah, the station ended up blowing up, but we had a really good time, and I think that's what a lot of us needed. We needed a big fight to really kind of bring the spirit of EVE Online into EVE Echoes, and there was just like so much bonding that happened after that first fight. Even though we lost, it was really like an eye opener for everybody that we were a part of something really big, and we weren't just playing like a simple mobile game or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I remember that fight. I think I was with you guys then. I can't actually be sure, but I think I was there. And around sometime we actually got this. People started like pushing each other, and we are the best. We gotta do this. I think that made a big difference and got people together, as you say. We started bonding and getting together, and actually started making some huge progress.
Yeah, quite a bit of progress from where we came from and where we are now.
Would you say being a fleet commander is hard?
I don't necessarily think that being a fleet commander is hard. There is a bunch of different ways that you can FC. There's many different styles to FCing. So it's really just about finding which style is more comfortable for you. I'd say the hardest part about being an FC is taking responsibility. I think, throughout EVE Online and throughout EVE Echoes, finding FCs is always been a difficult thing. And the main reason why is, EVE is a game where you kind of put it all out on the line, right? Sometimes you will mine or rat for hours and hours just to get one ship. And then you, as the FC, you might not have been that person, doing that ratting, doing all of that mining, but you're somehow still responsible for the livelihood or the life of that person flying that ship. And so that adds a lot of pressure onto people. And I think that getting over that pressure and realizing that we're all here to have fun and that most people, even if they get frustrated with you making a mistake as an FC, um, more than likely they're going to forgive you in the end because you're probably going to have a good time. But being responsible for more than just your time is probably the hardest aspect about being an FC. Everything else can be learned. It's very easy to teach people how to call targets. It's easy to teach people how to maneuver on the grid and do all that kind of stuff. Um, but it is much more difficult to kind of train someone to have a little bit of thick skin to not worry about losses and kind of not take all that stuff into consideration.
Yeah, you need to have a certain personality to handle it, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely think a certain personality is what stands out to have a really good FC. But at the same time, not you can have some rough personalities and still be a pretty good FC. It's kind of 50-50. If you show results, sometimes people can kind of ignore some of your other qualities that you might have as an FC. Some FCs get really angry, some FCs are really calm. Um, I'd like to say that I have a combination of both. I'm usually very calm as an FC and generally as a person. But I've played EVE Online enough to know that when someone is doing something wrong, I'm not afraid to say something about it.
That was my next question, actually. Just after you said some people are angry and some people are calm. But yeah, yeah, you're pretty calm, right?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, everyone likes to poke fun. A really fun battle we had was the final battle of ZID, which was in the south. Us and GenFed were facing Southern Coalition. Um, and a lot of the things that we work with sometimes with these cross coalitions is you have a lot of FCs. So sometimes there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. And what you need to do is you always have to establish that even though you're a team and everyone's working together, there generally has to be one, maybe two people who kind of have a definitive voice in the op and in the fleet. And that morning, I needed to be that voice, so I had to, maybe a little aggressively tell people to be quiet so we could get some stuff together, and
Yeah.
everything fell into place. It was a really good, a fun day after that.
Yeah, we need some spirit too. We can just have people almost sleeping when you're doing the CTA. So I know this is a very hard question, but like I tend to want to ask like what is your like what kind of fight do you remember the most, or what is like the best fight? But you have been in so many fights. So how should I phrase this question? Is there any fight you don't really enjoyed, or is there any fight that you actually felt like you could actually do a lot better?
I mean, I think that in Echoes, for the most part, I think the fights that none of us enjoy are the fights where we're dealing with disconnects. I think we've all, at this point in time, everyone in the game has experienced, if you're living in nullsec, you've experienced at least one fight where there's just been massive disconnects. Luckily, I don't play on an emulator or anything else like that. I play on an iPad, so I'm generally very stable. But when all of your pilots are disconnecting, they're not having a good time. And when you can feel that everyone else in the room is not having a good time, it does not make it necessarily fun for you. Um, I think the saddest fight we ever had, which is not really a fight. I think that some people in Pantheon will remember it. If not, definitely some of our Reds will remember. The fight that probably still keeps me up at night, and it really wasn't much of a fight. It was more of an ambush. Was we got jumped by No Please Stop early one morning. It was one of those fights where we were fighting in um, Chinese prime time, which is always really fun for us US folks, and even for the European folks can be fairly early. And I live on the West Coast, so it's very early for me. And we were forming up. I think I was getting my coffee, probably using the restroom in the morning. And I looked down at my iPad, and next thing you know, there was about 100+ Reds on grid, and we were kind of all spread out, and it was a massacre. Um, And that was not fun. But at the same time, it actually almost was one of the funnest fights I've had in Eve Echoes because being an EVE Online player, I'm a big podcast listener and read all the stories and everything. And it was one of those fights that like you'll always remember, right? It's one of those ones that if this game happens to have any sort of life to it, in a few years, like I'll always remember like the massacre of NOL and like what happened that day. And so it was a cool to be a part of something like that, even if you're on the losing side of the fight. It was like a beautifully well executed play by them. Um, and just being able to have that experience was really fun.
Yeah, you see, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. That's perfect. Not the fight, but I mean the memory. Memory is all we have, so I can say I played so many games, and there's only a few games that I still have memories from that is very memorable. And like when I think back at a game 10 years back, and I can vividly remember like almost the details. I mean, that was a great game, or that was a great moment at least. And Eve Echoes, and as you say, like Eve Online I think I have thousands of memories of Eve Online. and I'm pretty sure that Eve Echoes will have its memories on these new people that playing this game as well. When you play Eve Echoes, okay, you said you played Eve Online too?
Yeah, I put quite a bit Eve Online.
Oh, so you play Eve Online and you play Eve Echoes, and you're the head FC, right? Or one of the head FC. You're also running an alliance. How do you have time with all this? Are you Elon Musk?
No, I think I mean I'm actually struggling for to find work right now. So if anyone listening has any creative gigs, please DM me on Discord. I would looking for a job.
Oh,
No,
cool.
I think a big part of it is I think we got really lucky. Obviously, Eve Echoes came out at a time where most of the world was stuck inside, and so that played a huge part in kind of me getting involved in the thing. And I think a lot of people I play with now, I've definitely pulled back myself from a lot of the day-to-day um, aspects of playing the game, and a big part of that is me looking for work. I'm still doing all my administrative stuff, and also um, when you play so much, when you become an influence in the game, it can be very difficult to kind of uplift some of the other people within your alliance. And so not only am I trying to, take a little bit of time just for myself to enjoy the summer, but when I step out of the light, it allows for other FCs and other players and stuff like that to kind of move back up and be a part of something. And so that's been a big part of it. But yeah, I mean, I have plenty of free time, and I'm also an artist in my like real life profession, in which is something that gives me probably a little bit more free time than I'd say most other people. So I'll always have a time, I hope.
That is reassuring to hear. And that is unfortunate for you that you don't have an income right now. Or do you have an income?
Well, I don't have an income yet. A lot of people have been trying to get me to stream. I wish Eve Echoes was something that was more streamable. Eve has always been a hard game to stream, just in general. So
It's a slow game. If I would have streamed Eve Echoes or Eve Online, I mean, you really have to do a lot of PvP or do some crazy stuff. Otherwise, I mean, you cannot just sit and talk for hours, right? And I mean, then you have a podcast with Eve background, so.
yeah, that's kind of how it is. I think the way if I was to do it, some stuff that I've been kicking around is it's a really common thing in Eve. Never really seen in Eve Echoes, or I have, but it doesn't get much traction. Is I've considered starting fresh.
Yeah.
Like starting a new account, kind of working through the game from like day one and seeing how well that works. I'm not 100% sure how that would go, but I definitely think that it's something that I am considering. I'm also a teacher in real life, so teaching people is something that's really exciting. So if there's a way that I could teach people to play Echoes a little bit better, just to grow the player base itself, I think would be something that I would definitely consider.
Oh, you wanna maybe make like a YouTube channel? No?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is amazing. Like I did dabble in like the newbie teaching thing, but it didn't really take off. for me, and I think this is the same for you, but since you're saying that you're a teacher, you might have this knowledge that I don't have. And as I said in my latest podcast, I said I have a problem to see what people want to know, because everything is so crystal clear for me that I'll feel stupid if I make a video about like this is how you change ships, or this is how you do encounters or whatever. I think that everyone knows it, and I think you might have a great advantage to actually knowing that some people might not know that. So it might be easy for you to make like tutorials to see what people really need.
Yeah, and I get really into it. I mean, I cannot explain how much I absolutely love, I think, the EVE Online universe as a whole. Obviously, there's more than just EVE Online now. Um, but I really think it's probably one of the most fascinating games that I've ever played, and I get, like I said, I get super excited about it. And so the ability to share that with people or get more people to play is something that really excites me. And it's not even just like to recruit or to like grow my own alliance or something like that. I honestly think that my alliance is big enough. I have enough cats to herd. I don't necessarily know how many more I need, although I could do some better delegating and maybe we could have some more people. But I think that if more people were active online in the server itself, just the better the game becomes. And so anything that I could potentially do to get more people involved, I think is something that really excites me.
You were talking about Eve Online, so are you talking about making videos for Eve Online or Eve Echoes?
Definitely for making some videos for Eve Echoes. It's a much less saturated market for sure when it comes to content.
And just so I didn't misunderstand what you were saying. So, all right, yeah, I think that would be great. I can do whatever I can to help promote your stuff, so you can get more views or whatever. I can do whatever I can, so I'll help you.
Heck yeah, we're here to help each other. It's really nice. It's actually been, I think that's something that's so beautiful about online gaming communities in general. But I definitely think Eve is special in terms of how it brings people together. Just like mentioning earlier about not having work right now. That's something that I like opened up to my community about and was like, hey, like I'm out of work right now. Things are a little bit more difficult. And my whole entire community has like come together and has like sent me jobs that they've looked up. People have tried to help me find things, have sent me resources and links and tips and advice and like all of these things that are just like so fantastic that I think most people think that we're just strangers on the internet from the outside, but a lot of us are like really, really good friends at this point in time, and are very supportive with each other outside of the game, and it's a really, really beautiful aspect of it.
I think I'm not sure about Eve Echoes. Now we have a great group of people all over Eve Echoes, but like definitely in Eve Online, the player base, like the age is a lot higher than, for example, in these shooter games or whatever that's out now. I don't know what they are. Okay. Okay, so yeah, there is shooter games out now. I don't know. I was gonna say like Counter-Strike, but that is 50 years ago. So, but yeah, there's like 13-year-old people playing, and Eve Echoes, I would assume, and Eve Online have a lot higher age, and that makes most people have easier to understand another person's situation, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so you do not have a job. Like, how do you pay for your ships?
Now, well, my corp is very generous to me. I think my corp recognizes how much time that I put into the game, and so they definitely make sure that I am nice and stocked up on pretty much everything I need at this point. And also, luckily the mechanics of this game, I think that that's something that people are very hard on the insurance aspect of this game, and I think that there are problems with it, and I definitely think that there are things that hurt industry in this game, and I think that obviously that insurance is one of those things. But what some people don't realize is um, it does make the game a little bit more equitable for people who are outside of the game, right? I have my select few ships that I love to fly now. And I don't really need to worry too much about farming for ISK, playing the game 24/7 to make sure that I'm keeping up on things. I can like plex my account, pay for a little bit of insurance, and I'm like good to go. Which is not, it's very foreign to something like EVE Online, that definitely has everything out on the line. And so I think it's nice because it opens up a game to be a lot more accessible for people. You don't have to be a hardcore gamer to play EVE Echoes and get the experience of EVE Online.
I think differently, but I do understand from your perspective. Of course, it's like the insurance is very helpful and to new players, and it's very good right now for people to actually lose ships. It's very good, and I say to people like enjoy it and like blow up as much as you can right now, because if they or when they change it, it will be a lot harder. So, but I also see like the foundation of the game is the industrialists, and if they don't want to play the game, then we have no ships anyway.
Yeah, exactly like you were saying. It's always been a one relies on the other. Industry relies on PvP players to protect them. Industry players rely on PvP players to buy their ships, and there's always been a really nice harmony between the two. And now PvP pilots don't necessarily need to rely on their industry pilots as much. But I think that's changing. Obviously, I think for smaller ships, right? Let's call it like battleships and below. You don't need a huge industry backbone at this point in time to kind of really fund it. But in nullsec, as everyone knows, things are rapidly changing. You have things like corp citadels, and you have capitals and dreadnoughts and carriers and all that stuff coming, and those will require a heavy industry backbone. And so I think that while you know cruiser sales might not go back through the roof like they once were, there is still going to be a place for industry in this game, because there's a lot more infrastructure that goes into something like nullsec, than just general shipbuilding.
I think so too, and I hope dreadnoughts and carriers and the new upgrading, like the new upgraded versions of the stations, will be extremely expensive. I really hope so, because that will remove a lot of the minerals we have. But I mean, there's more problems to the market than just that we have the insurance. I mean, even if they would fix the insurance and they would like in some way even out the pricing and all that, we still don't have graphs on the market. It's like it would be great to have a graph on the items, like how they sell, how they did sell like a year ago or like a half year ago. And to me it's a must have. I mean, I need to predict values and pricing, and we don't have that. And it's like I don't know how they think about marketing versus industrialists and pricing in the future. I hope they have an idea.
Yeah, so do I. That'd be fantastic.
So, speaking of problems or issues, would you say that Iveco's, except what we have talked about, is as good as it can be?
I think without getting too into maybe, I guess, the politics of business and game design or anything of that nature, I do think that the game is kind of, no, it's obviously not at its best. But I think that that's hard for me on a personal note to say anything is like at its best. Obviously, there's like room for improvements. But I am incredibly impressed with what this game is. I remember chatting about it years ago with EVE Online players when they, talked about doing a mobile EVE, and none of us even dreamed for a second that we would have what we have now. Um, you know, it I never, ever, ever, ever would have thought of it. I think even 6 months ago, we thought the game was going to be dead by now. We figured there was going to be too many changes that kind of just ruined everything, or just sent it into a totally different direction. Um, I think there's definitely some stuff that is like a little bit, weird and awkward and needs to get improved on. But I think with things like the addition of faction games and with everything else that's there, I think it's in a very, very good place, in my opinion. It'd be hard for me to say that it's in a terribly bad place. Obviously, I think we all know the industry lads are hurting more than everybody else. But aside from that, I think it is a mobile game unlike any other, and I think that should definitely count for something.
Even without the faction war games. Like just having the thought to put the faction war games in was huge. And they did this, and that shows that they can do pretty much whatever they want. And it shows that they are willing to do the necessary things for an iOS game that EVE Online cannot have, because EVE Online have a different structure, and they're implementing this so that everyone can just pick up a ship and just go PvP. And this is hopefully just a start of more to come in this line of ideas. I feel very hopeful for the game. Besides what we talked about, of course, with insurance and industry and stuff like that. But if we put that aside and just see the game as a whole, I think it's amazing what they built. And I'm not sure if you remember, but they had a program called, I think it was Eve Aurora. Did you hear about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you did. When you built a station, pretty much like Infinite Lagrange or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm not sure how you thought about it, but when I saw that first, and you flew the, like, you sent it out the frigates and stuff and whatever it was, I was like, this is great. I mean, if I could play this on the mobile, this would be amazing. And then they scratched it and they just said, you know what, we just do Eve Online on mobile, and they showed that video. I mean, that was crazy. And yeah, I could not dream of having it this in depth as it is today.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the war games, Eve Online does have something similar now, where there's kind of like these match-made games. But obviously they
They
have the
do?
Eve Online twist, yeah, where there's a little bit more skin in the game. But I think that something that's so interesting and very beautiful about Eve Echoes is while it is still so tied to the Eve Online universe, like you said, they really can kind of do anything as long as they implement it in the right way. And I think that faction war games have been implemented in probably one of the best ways that they could have been implemented. People have complaints about them, but there are certain game design limitations to really work with, which definitely makes things difficult. But I think overall, it doesn't take away from the spirit of Eve, which is something that I think a lot of us were worried about. I mentioned earlier the fact that you're losing things is one of the most interesting aspects of Eve in general in the Eve Online universe is you really kind of give it your all. And the fact that you don't really lose anything when you're inside of faction war games is unfortunate, but I've actually had more people, I think, play faction war games and then want to go out and actually PvP because it got them excited. And they themselves kind of realize that it's not quite the same. I think that the player base as a whole understand that, and so I don't think it actually deters people from playing the game how a lot of us really want to play it, which is that much more high risk, kind of give it your all, invest everything type of play style. So I think it's a good balance between the two.
Oh yes. Faction warfare is, in my opinion, just a runway for something more to come, and it's a way to just have a great time for a short while, like on your break or whatever. I'm not sure, but it's not at all like PvP. I mean, to be honest, I would not have flown my destroyers or frigates the way they have built them, but it's a way to understand how the fights works for new players. So in the future, hopefully we get another type of arena similar to EVE Online for those who wanna play it. Like the Dead Space or whatever. What is it called? Like you are playing EVE Online, so you fight unto death in a space, and if you leave that, you die or whatever. What's that called?
Yeah, so there's two different ways now that you can kind of fight. There are the Triglavian Proving Grounds, which are
Yeah,
half
that was the one.
PvE, yeah, which are a similar style in terms of there's a PvE aspect to it, but you don't have other players in them. And EVE Online now also does this thing where it's similar, it's connected to the Trigalvian class, but they are like weekend events, and they change the format every time. So one week it might be 1v1 cruisers, the next week it might be three destroyers versus three destroyers. They kind of really keep it fresh, and they change how you kind of do it every single time. So that's like pretty exciting.
Yeah, we could use something like that, I think.
Yeah, I do. I would like to put my own skin in the game. I think everyone loves the combat shakes, right? Everyone loves that fear of being in, PvP engagement. And I will say when you play faction war games enough, it does kind of become a little like press and play. I don't know, you kind of know the buttons that you need to press to kind of get the results that you kind of need. And there's not too much finesse to it. So I think the more finesse that they can add to the war games feature, the better it'll eventually become.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. You said you had your favorite ships. So what kind of favorite ships are they?
I would say my favorite ships are, well, I am a Minotaur lover, go duct tape. So if it has
Ha!
rust on it, I probably like it. The Hurricane is probably one of the strongest ships, in my opinion, in the game for sure. Aside from Scepters, but I don't think anyone wants to talk about Scepters because we all
No.
know how strong they are. The Phantasm is also one of my favorite ships. It always has been in EVE Online. Unfortunately, it doesn't get some of the nice perks that other ones get, but I mean, who doesn't like big, giant, edgy knives attached onto the front of your spaceship? It's probably the most evil and menacing looking of all of the ships, and I love that part of it. Something to be afraid of, right? When you see it on the field, it doesn't look like it's
Yeah.
a inviting ship by any account.
Yeah, you don't want to hug it.
No, no, you do not.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a shield guy, so the Phantasm is an amazing ship, of course. It's a faction ship, so but yeah, the appearance and lasers and shield. Now you can go armor in echoes without a problem, but I think it
Yeah, it
has
is.
more shield, right? And armor.
Yeah, it does have base armor. Although it'd be really interesting to have an armor phantasm. There's been a few people in EVE Online from time to time who have dabbled in armor phantasms, so it would
Yeah.
be interesting. I think some people would have a real problem with that. Maybe that's a reason. Maybe I'll armor fit one. With all these lovely IP points, there's so many insurance points from this the most recent anniversary event that
Yeah.
it's made me want to take my phantasm out a little bit more.
Yeah, but like a Phantasm, how expensive is that? It's like what is it? 3 billion?
Yeah, so it's a little
Yeah,
bit, it's actually a little bit less than 3,000 IP
it's not too bad.
um, to ensure it. No, it's just fantastic.
That is also very good. I think they did a great job with helping new players be introduced in this game with this package that you could buy. They could have done this a lot worse, like real pay to win, and they didn't. So I'm very happy.
Yeah, I think the mechanics of the game itself, the purely how battle goes down inside of Eve, the fact that you can kill a battleship with the frigate mechanically,
Yeah,
um, will always be an excellent balance to this game as a whole for pay to win. And that's something that, even hearing EVE Online podcasts and stuff like that, when people talk about skill points and plexing and all this stuff, and they mention pay to win, um, it's very difficult to pay to win in this game. A common thing people say is like, money can't buy you piloting skills. And that holds very true in Eve. There is no instantly press the button and you win type of thing. Even with Titans, right? You could buy a Titan on day one, but you're probably gonna lose it without having a team or support or something else like that. So paying to win is they'd have to really botch something to to make this a pay to win game for sure.
yeah. You really have to be very good at the game and start today, and then yes, you could actually pay your way up to get the best gear, like the best ship with the best fit. And if you know the game, then yeah, sure, you're very good, but it's not pay to win because you still need. I actually making a video that I'm working on a video right now that is talking about that Eve is not pay to win. So we see when that come out.
Awesome.
Yeah. I will not hold you anymore, Stoney. I thank you so much for this. I know a lot of people are gonna be tremendously happy to actually listen to you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you, Sheev. It's been a good time. And I've never been on an Eve podcast. This is great. This is like my first time, so this is exciting for me.
This is the first. You heard it here. All right,
You heard it.
Amazing. Okay, bye.